Carrie Lam vows to fight to the end in efforts to win Lechko's support for political reform. In Japan, Shinzo Abe sends an offering to Yasukuni Shrine. And more migrants trying to get to Europe picked up at sea.
Good evening. The government is unveiling the official political reform package tomorrow. Acting Chief Executive Carrie Lam said the administration will fight to the end to get lawmakers to support it. Sources say officials may begin a mass promotional community campaign as soon as tomorrow.
At 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, Carrie Lam will unveil the political reform package in Lechko. She'll take questions from lawmakers afterwards for about 2 hours, though it could be shorter if the Pan-Democrats decide to walk out in protest. Speaking before the weekly Executive Council meeting this morning, Lam reiterated the need for the SAR's constitutional reform to follow the Basic Law and the National People's Congress Standing Committee's relevant decisions. But the Pan-Democrats disagree. They say only the NPC Standing Committee's interpretations of the Basic Law, not other decisions, are legally binding for the SAR. It's believed the Pan-Democratic lawmakers will stage a protest during the announcement of the proposal. Despite their staunch opposition towards any reform proposal based on the framework set by the NPC Standing Committee last August, Lam insists the majority of Hong Kong people want to see the political reform package passed. She believes there is still a bit of time for the government to fight for lawmakers' support before the reform package is put to a vote in the summer. We'll fight to the end, Lam said. The government is mobilizing the full team of principal officials to lobby for support in the community. According to sources, the fight begins as soon as the package is unveiled tomorrow. The promotional campaign won't involve community forums this time, as similar events in the past were overshadowed by protests. It's believed the officials will instead go for district council election-type campaigning, such as canvassing homes and housing estates to rally support from each household. Executive Councillor Bernard Chan says he's not optimistic about changing the Pan-Democrats' minds, but that he would lend support to these community promotions.
If there's enough of an overwhelming support from the community to accept this proposal, I hope maybe we can get a few votes from them to help us to pass through this bill.
Executive Councillor Arthur Lee warned Pan-Democrats that they will not be supported by the Hong Kong people if they vote against the government's political reform proposal. Lee, who's the former education chief, also criticised University of Hong Kong professors for not doing their jobs properly. More details from Evelina Leung.
Pan-Democratic lawmakers have signed numerous petitions vowing to vote down the government's political reform. Executive Council member Arthur Lee said on a TVB program that this will not work in their favour.
It will make a lot of Hong Kong people very angry because you're depriving them of a right, a basic right to vote.
He also asked members of the public to take a long, hard look at this group of legislators and analyze whether they are still working for their benefits. The outspoken executive councillor, who's also the former Secretary for Education and Manpower, also spoke about education in the SAR. It's been exactly a month since Lee joined the University of Hong Kong Council, but he already has some strong words for the university staff. Lee said the professors are to blame for the University of Hong Kong's ranking decline in the global ranking list. He said the professors are not doing their jobs of researching and teaching properly.
It's much easier to come on your program and talk than to be sitting down, writing research proposal, grant proposal, actually carrying out research. So I think, a lot of people would rather take the easy way out rather than actually buckle down and get on with their job.
Lee added that if academics fulfill their duties, then he has no problem with them taking part in pro-democracy activities. Apart from the professors, the former education chief also criticized the university students.
Many of these students who take part in political activities are not particularly academically gifted. And they like to be heroes to their girlfriends and so on. And therefore, if they can stand out and wave banners and shout slogans, they could look like a hero, couldn't they?
However, Lee said this is not the students' fault because they're simply following examples set out in front of them. Evelyn Lang, TVB News.
Both pro-establishment and pan-democratic legislators will try to ensure there are enough members in the LegCo chamber for a quorum during the debate on the appropriation bill for the budget. As Rani Samtani reports, that's been criticised by those who plan to stage a filibuster.
The marathon debate on the appropriation bill will resume tomorrow, with lawmakers going through 618 amendments. Last year, it took legislators 131 hours to debate and vote on nearly 1,200 amendments. This time, with fewer amendments, it's expected to take 103 hours. The LegCo Secretariat believes the bill's third reading could be completed by the end of May, a few days earlier compared with last year. Some lawmakers say they're not against the LegCo president extending the debate if the situation calls for it. Ip Kwok Kim of the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong said if the discussion is constructive, the president could consider adjusting the time allocated. But if lawmakers decide to stage a filibuster, the public will get fed up, he said. Leung Kwok Hung of the League of Social Democrats, Albert Chan and Raymond Chan of People Power, and independent Wong Yuk Man plan to stage a filibuster. In addition, some lawmakers have put together a roster to ensure there are enough members in the chamber for a quorum. Ip Kwok Kim said there will be at least 24 pro-establishment lawmakers in the chamber, while Civic Party lawmaker Alan Leung said 11 pan-Democrats will be present in the meeting at all times. Leung said he and other pan-Democrats will not take part in the filibuster. He explained that this is not the last year of the four-year LegCo session, so there's no point in obstructing the passage of the bill right now. Raymond Chan of People Power hit out at those pan-Democrats. He said that by setting a roster, they are helping the government to pass the budget bill. Rani Samtani, TVB News.
The Guangdong Pilot Free Trade Zone was set up today. Guangdong Party Secretary Hu Chunhua, Guangdong Governor Zhu Xiaodan, and Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying were among those attending a ceremony marking the occasion. Zhu called on investors from Hong Kong and Macau to invest in the free trade zone. The government is setting up new free trade zones in Guangdong, Fujian, and Tianjin.
Turning overseas now, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe today sent an offering to the Yasukuni Shrine, but he did not visit the controversial war shrine in person. James Wong has more.
It's been a key sticking point in relations between Japan and its neighbors over its wartime past. Today, Shinzo Abe sent an offering to the Yasukuni Shrine, which honors the country's war dead as well as a group of convicted World War II leaders. His government insists he made the offering in his private capacity. The Prime Minister did not pay homage in person. Analysts see it as an attempt to avoid diplomatic embarrassment ahead of a summit of Asian and African leaders in Indonesia tomorrow, where Abe is hoping to meet with President Xi Jinping on the sidelines.
Here we have this recurring annoyance, like a grain of sand that makes the pearl in East Asian relations, of this tiny gift of a plant at the spring festivals and the autumn festivals. What he's saying there is, I still have my supporters. I still have people who brought me to power who have some very funny ideas, but I didn't go to Yasukuni. So why don't you invite me over and we'll have a summit.
In Beijing, criticism from the foreign ministry against the offering. Spokesman Hong Lei called on Tokyo to acknowledge the past. He also said President Xi's schedule at the Jakarta summit has not been decided yet. Similar opposition from Seoul, too. A South Korean foreign ministry spokesman said political leaders in Japan should realize that paying respects at the shrine is perceived as violating international agreements and harming stability. All this comes in the year marking the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II and ahead of Abe's landmark visit to the U.S. next week. Abe and U.S. President Barack Obama are expected to discuss defense cooperation and China's growing influence in Asia, among other issues. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
President Xi Jinping continued his visit to Pakistan earlier today with an address to the country's parliament. The president applauded Pakistan's anti-terrorism efforts. He said Beijing would continue to stand by its neighbour and longtime ally. Xi praised Islamabad for helping with security in China's far west, where Muslim separatists are believed to have teamed up with Pakistan-based militants. Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, for his part, said his country considers Chinese security as important as its own. The two nations have also signed dozens of deals during Xi's visit, boosting business and economic ties. The president next heads to Indonesia for a summit of Asian and African leaders. To Egypt, where ousted leader Mohamed Morsi has been sentenced to 20 years in jail for the killing of anti-government protesters during his residency. This is the first verdict issued against a democratically elected president who was overthrown by the military in 2013. Morsi and about a dozen Muslim Brotherhood leaders and supporters were each given 20-year jail terms over violence outside the presidential palace in December 2012. Clashes between Morsi's supporters and opposition protesters killed at least 10 people. Critics call the verdicts and sentences politically motivated. The defendants can appeal the ruling.
Italian police have arrested the captain and a senior crew member of the boat that was packed with migrants and capsized in the Mediterranean Sea last weekend. The vessel was carrying as many as 900 migrants trying to cross from Libya to Italy, and they are feared to have drowned. The disaster has prompted calls for the European Union to do more to save lives at sea, while cracking down on the human traffickers who exploit those fleeing war and poverty in their home countries. The captain of the vessel, which sank off the coast of Libya on Sunday with hundreds of people on board, was arrested as soon as he reached port. Italian authorities say the Tunisian national has been charged with reckless multiple homicide. He and his first mate have also been charged with helping to aid illegal immigration. At least 700 people are feared dead from his doomed ship in what's been dubbed the single biggest loss of life amongst migrants crossing the Mediterranean. Even as the search continued for the victims of the disaster, Coast Guard ships rushed to respond to new distress calls overnight. 2 off Libya and a third boat which ran aground near Greece.
Now there are 4 different rescue operations ongoing in the same area where the previous shipwreck happened, north of Libya. So this makes very clear the need for a credible rescue operation. A permanent rescue operation in the Mediterranean should be #1 priority for everybody.
Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi urged the European Union to put the focus on preventing more boats from leaving Libya, the source of 90% of migrant traffic to Italy. That was echoed by UN Chief Ban Ki-moon, who said the EU must do more to support countries like Italy and Malta, who have borne the brunt of the crisis.
I urge the European Union to show solidarity by accelerating its support.
Aid workers welcome calls for an emergency summit.
We need extraordinary summits and to begin grappling with some of these issues. They're extremely complicated. We think Italy's acted heroically. We know Europe has many concerns with unchecked borders, with job seekers, with tensions in their own communities. And we understand all these things, but the loss of life has become so dramatic that we think it's time for such a thing as an extraordinary summit to be called.
The EU has been under increasing criticism for lagging in its response to the crisis. Stopping the traffickers will be a key item on the agenda when EU leaders meet at an emergency summit on Thursday in Brussels. Police in Barcelona say a 13-year-old boy armed with a crossbow, a machete, killed a substitute teacher and wounded 4 others. The incident happened at his school in Barcelona. The unidentified boy was detained by police as a suspect in the attack that also saw 2 other teachers and 2 students injured. Authorities said the boy, who was undergoing a psychiatric examination, will not face criminal charges because he is under the age of 14. And still ahead in the news tonight. 2 men arrested in connection with forged parking tickets. A powerful storm batters parts of Australia, leaving 3 dead.